My name is Gibby, this is Toto, and this is Ozzy, and welcome to the Horror Homestead. This is a video on an ongoing series I'm making about the Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Fright novels. In each video I'm going to summarize, analyze, and theorize about a different story in the ongoing Fazbear Frights anthology series. And today we're finally finishing up The Puppet Carver, talking about the Stitch Wraith Stinger epilogue at the end of the book. I'm currently a believer in the Frights fiction fan theory, mainly because the books being canon has been disproven by the games now. So either they mean literally nothing, or maybe they're in-universe books made to make light of Fazbear's past. That'd be a cool way of still making them canon, I think so at least. So as we go through the book and discuss it, we're going to try to figure out ways in which it's possible that this might be an in-universe text. There's not really much to discuss for this one about that, but you'll see. You'll see why I have very little to discuss about this. We're now talking about the 9th physical book in the series, Puppet Carver, and its Stitch Wraith Stinger. You'll remember that we left off last time with Larson going to Jeff's Pizza, finding the time-traveling ball pit, and finding a bunch of blood in it. He extracted the blood and sent it to the lab for work. This story starts with Larson at his policeman desk. He's back to work. While he was temporarily gone in the hospital, they replaced him with a guy who sounds like this. Heard y'all were waiting for these here results? The heavy drawl lifted Larson's gaze. One of the new detectives, Chansey, Larson wasn't sure if it was a first or a last name, stood next to Larson's desk. He was tapping one of his cowboy boot-clad feet on the scuffed floor. FNAF Cowboy! FNAF Cowboy! Yes! Yes! Shoot the animatronics, Clancy! Chansey? What was his name? Chansey. Heal my Pokemon and then shoot the animatronics. So Chansey slaps down the blood test report onto Larson's desk, and he picks it up and he says, "This is very odd." And so he dials the number, probably more like this, dials the number on his cell phone, and he's like, "Blood work lady, I have a question about the results you gave me. They're weird." It turns out it's not a bunch of different bloods, nor is it the blood from the same incident. It turns out that all the bloods are from the same... Toto, what are you doing? He got a little weird while he was on vacation. His eyes don't look the same way anymore. I mean, they don't look the same to me, but they don't see the same way, nor do they appear the same way. In both instances of the word, his face is smushed. What happened? Is that your way of shrugging? Because you don't have any shoulders? Okay. He calls the blood work people, and they tell him it's the same person's blood, but over 30 years. Basically, the different blood samples are all from different years, but it's all the same person's DNA. That's weird. I mean, it's a time-traveling ball pit, so we know it's not that weird, but it is weird, because we have to wonder, whose blood is it, and why were they going there once a year? Unless it's more like, because they traveled in time, their blood was, like, scattered through the timeline. We'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out. We're gonna find out, right, Scott? We cut to Jake's perspective. He had just saved a drug-using teenage girlie from a bunch of drug dealers who he sent to the hospital. And they find the shack by the railroad tracks from out of stock, and they sleep there all night. But there's this weird scuttering sound outside. Scuttering's not a word. Scuttling is what I meant. There's a weird scuttle-scuttle outside. Morning comes. Jake decides to leave to go get food and water for his new human friend. He returns, and we get this. "Hi, I'm Jake. What's your name?" "Jake," the girl said. "That's a nice name. I'm Rennell." "That's a nice name, too," Jake said. "Very pretty." As he spoke, though, Jake felt funny about the girl's name. It sounded wrong to him, like it didn't fit her or something. But that was silly. Jake watched her and mentally repeated her name. Something sounded off about it, like it was a half-truth. Now, unfortunately, I know the twist here, because it's a very important part of FNAF lore theorizing, so I can't pretend to figure it out on my own. But between now and when the video ends, if you have your guess for what this means, leave it in the comments. Why is Rennell's name a half-truth? Jake asks Rennell why she's not scared of him, and she says, "I've been on the street long enough to know that what we think of as monsters, things that might look like you, aren't the real monsters. Most real monsters are people, especially guys who think they can push around girls like me just because I don't have a place to live. But you're not a monster. You just look different." This would be a really nice sentiment if it wasn't for how the story ends. Rennell starts to tell Jake why she's a druggie, and says that her mom died when she was 13, 2 years ago, which makes her 15. She then says this about her father. He was all wrapped up in his own grief, and he couldn't deal, you know? He disappeared into his work, got obsessive about it, he couldn't help me. She sighed. I tried to cope, I really did. But I finally couldn't stand the pain anymore. My dad didn't understand at all. He hauled me off to one of those schools for kids who get in trouble, and he left me there. When I got out, he was still wrapped up in his work. I stole some of his money, and when he found out I'd done that, he kicked me out, told me not to come back. Jake tells her that his mom died when he was young too. Then, sunshine hits Rennell, and this is how the story ends. The light made Rennell look like a sweet angel, and it revealed something Jake hadn't noticed before. Rennell was wearing a very unusual pendant. Hanging from a silver chain, the pendant was a somewhat misshapen silver heart. The way the sun hit the silver made it glint and flash sparkles. The sparkles made Jake smile. He thought it was a sign that something good was going to happen. Analysis. Rennell is Eleanor with the to be beautiful pendant to look like another real person. It's a half lie, because Rennell is a real person with a tragic backstory, but this isn't Rennell, it's Eleanor. Also, Rennell is Eleanor backwards almost. This is dramatic irony. The reader knows something that Jake doesn't know. The pendant is what Eleanor uses to hide herself. She must have tricked and possibly killed the real Rennell. It's possible that this happened prior to Jake saving her when the drug dealers attacked, but I think it's more likely that he did save Rennell, kept her inside of the shack, and then while he was gone getting food, the thing that was scuttle-cruddling along the top of the thing all night was Eleanor, and it came in and got her. Either way, not good. Rennell's gone, Eleanor is here. There's nothing wrong with this chapter, it's just really, really short, which is why I don't think it'll stick out in my memory as being an important part of the FNAF lore. Like, if you asked me what the Puppet Carver's epilogue is 6 months from now, I would not be able to tell you. Speaking of the Puppet Carver, let's start to talk about the book as a whole. As always, we're going to look at the main characters in the book. Jack, the Scrooge stand-in from the Puppet Carver, becomes a nicer person after the Puppet Carver shreds his rough exterior. Colton Colt Corey, a miserable teenager whose dad died and hates the innocence and happy-go-luckiness of children, tries to get revenge on those same children, and instead accidentally leads to his own death and possession of a clown, who then decides that it's the correct thing to do to hug his little cousin. And Peyton, a good kid who deludes herself into thinking that lying to cover up her friend's death is the right thing to do, and so she ends up being haunted by these actions and accidentally gets herself killed. What do they have in common? I don't know. At the start of the story, Jack and Colton Colt Corey are bad people who need to learn their lesson. Peyton is a good kid, but she makes a decision for self-preservation over prioritizing the truth, and this decision to self-preservize ends up leading to her death, which is irony. What Jack did wrong was being a selfish jerk. What Colton Colt Corey did wrong was being a selfish jerk. What Peyton did wrong was lying. The back of the book says, consumed by failure. For Jack and Peyton, you could say that the word consumed is a pun, but that doesn't really work for Colton Colt Corey. And for Peyton, I wouldn't say that she was consumed by failure, she was consumed by guilt. Pizza Kit is the odd one out here as far as the story and the character goes. Now, as far as the villains go, the Puppet Carver's villain is Jack being a jerk, and then a mush monster made of the organs of his bad half comes after him. So, you could say that Fate is a jerk, running from your past is a bad thing to do, the ghost from A Christmas Carol is a jerk. It's not. It's just like death and fate. So I wouldn't really say that that one has a villain other than the main character. And then it's the exact same thing with Jump for Tickets. The bad character who makes the bad stuff happen is just Colton Colt Corey himself. There is no opposing force. He doesn't like the kids because they annoy him. So I guess Jack is Scrooge, and Colton Colt Corey is the Grinch, because he's just annoyed by other people's happiness. And then Pizza Kit doesn't have a villain. Peyton imagines that a pizza is really gross because it's like her friend's body or something, but then when her friend, who actually ends up being fine, rings her doorbell, it scares Peyton because of her own guilt, and then she climbs on her roof and then falls down and dies. There's no real villain. So it's the past version of Jack that's the bad guy. There isn't a bad guy in Pizza Kit, and maybe it's the clown, but the clown's really saving him, because if he does what he is trying to do, he will die, which he does. And then there's no villain in Pizza Kit. I don't think there's a single cohesive thing that unites this book together as one cohesive package. In The Stitch Wraith Singer, we have Jake trusting Rennell, who the reader knows is Eleanor and who he shouldn't trust, but in the other stories, there's no dramatic irony. There's never a time when the reader knows something that the characters don't. I'm not sure if at this point in the series, Scott cared about keeping the books cohesive. In the beginning, he did, and it was pretty cool, and I loved analyzing them as one physical thing, as one piece of text that might be telling us something over its different anthological stories. But it doesn't seem to be the case anymore, and that is The Puppet Carver, the end. As always, we're going to place these stories on our tier list. I bet you can guess where Pizza Kit's gonna go. S. The Real Jake, The Breaking Wheel, The New Kid, Count the Ways. A. Fetch, Coming Home, In the Flesh, 1:35 a.m., Blackbird. B. Out of Stock, Into the Pit, Gumdrop Angel, The Man in Room 1280. C. Sergio's Lucky Day, Puppet Carver. Bunny Call, Jump for Tickets, Dance with Me, Step Closer, What We Found to Be Beautiful. D. Room for One More. F. The Cliffs, Hide and Seek, Lonely Freddy, He Told Me Everything, Pizza Kid. We're now 9/12 or 3/4 of our way through the series. And as we approach the end, I just want you to remember 4 things. Please be nice to each other in the comments. Consider supporting the creators you admire. Never lose sight of the things that are important to you. And remember that when your friend goes on vacation and he comes back acting weird, it's very possible he was taken over by an alien brain parasite and isn't the real him anymore, but he doesn't realize that you know this about him because he's been acting so differently, so you decide to accuse him on camera so that other people will know what's happening. I would like to thank my patrons: Brandon, Lauren V, Morgan, Nan, Scott, Sophie, Suka, and Wooly, as well as Billy, Chamikon, Klaus, Copacker Fan, Eliza, Halmar, Johnny the Night Guard, Kira, Lauren R, Rose, Sebhar, Thamagata, World's Greatest Bard, Your Boy Peachy, Zany Face, and Zimmy, as well as Emily, Gremlin, HHD, Jinx, Jose, Mustard Shirt Guy, Rolo, and Riley, as well as Ellie, Jojo, Jeannie, Mariuna, and Ray. And I would like to thank my YouTube members, my Night Guards. Those who made it to Night 1: Spark Saturn, Sleepy, Nolan, Arcadeus, Toolshed Inc., Liz, Violet Poppy, Haley, Sophie, Poppy, Theory Chum, Riley, JT Kelly 18, Golden Productions, Louie, and Jackie. Those who made it to Night 2: Mrs. Trap and Ya Boy Peachy. Those who made it to Night 3: The Moving Marker, I Blue Renditional W, and Just Because. Those who made it to Night 4: Jetray, Desire Without Emotion, Gordon, Leon, Cody the Viking, Jeremy, Dr. Pepper, Aaron, Everett, Nemesis, Zemoit, Victoria, King, Aldo, CE, Lydia, Riley, Darestare, Supergo, Crypriva, Scott, Morse, Heboyi, Alex, CWF, KK, Dan B, Gemis Heresy, Hyrule YT, Remington, Unk, YouTube Guy, Hather the Cow, Bob, Maggie, Blood Lovin' Girl, Mr. Simps, Casual Soup, Ace Cole 99, Mad Dog, Cammy Bammy, Eric, Maury, Rainbow Data, Ming Amazing, Cryonide, Isaac, Rose, Slatfried, Tim, Mamakato, Celtic 1020, EB Theory Blue, The Unwithered Sigma, and Ice Mint. And those who made it to Night 5, Momo Peaches and Suka.